I love teaching. That's why I've always said yes whenever I've been asked to teach. Um, I get nervous about it sometimes and I don't always feel like comfortable, but I really love the interactions with students. I like helping students see the world through a feminist lens, and feminist in the way that is understood to be really focused on marginalized communities, social justice, and anti-oppression of all kinds.
Julia Applegate could be described a number of ways: an ex drag king, a lesbian feminist, a documentary filmmaker, a part time professor, and a full time activist.
It's hard to talk about Julie in using one word or saying one specific thing because she's operating on so many levels. She's a fantastic professor, a fantastic mentor, and a wonderful friend. And she brings such a level of integrity and enthusiasm to every single thing that she does. She's like a whirlwind of movement and activity. She knows people in the world and she goes out and she makes things happen.
What landed me here at Ohio State was the master's program in what was called Women's Studies at the time. So I started here as a graduate student, got a research assistantship and then a teaching assistantship, and graduated with my master's in '97. And I continued to teach until Ohio State got a PhD program in women's studies. And then for me, that kind of ended my teaching stint here because they had graduate students. When I was here, there was not a PhD program. I didn't have the opportunity to get a PhD in my field at the time. There was a big gap, maybe 8 or 9 years, where I didn't teach. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't have any opportunities. I had started with my friend a drag king troupe while we were here in graduate school. Since I put all my energy into drag king stuff and being in the community, being a lesbian, being an activist, I just got off the academic path. I'm action oriented, and academia is very slow. I wanted to be out in the world making impact. And then I got reconnected again, started teaching again in 2016, taught on the side. In 2022, I left my public health career and started teaching more regularly here. Being that I moved here because I was a lesbian, because I knew there were lesbians here, because I wanted to feel better about being a lesbian, I met lesbians. I met a lesbian who was 10 years older than me and was very rooted in the community and was connected to Jack's Summit Station. And that bar became a really central part of my life. Before I went to grad school, while I was in grad school, and afterwards. In that bar, we started His Kings, a drag king troupe that was all about pushing back on gender norms, very deliberately anti-racist, anti-misogynist, a collective, all kinds of things that were really progressive and based on what we had learned here in our Women's Studies program. One of the things that we did was we founded an International Drag King Extravaganza here in Columbus. Whenever that first Drag King Extravaganza happened, we hosted it here at Ohio State and at some local bars. I started working with the Ohio History Connection and started thinking about getting a historical marker for the bar. And so, of course, I had to talk with Lester about that. He's the person who introduced me to the bar. In the process of doing that work, we got connected with the original bar owner, the second bar owner when it became Summit Station. You know, sometimes you can feel something is happening to you, and it was clear that what needed to happen was that a documentary film needed to be made. We just figured it out, and so we made a movie.
And through Free Beer Tomorrow, we found that there was a lack of accessible community and spaces for people to gather. And Julie sees that, she identifies it, and then she goes for it. She's a problem solver.
Doing the interviews and talking to all of these women who had been patrons of the bar, who are now, many of whom are now in their 70s and 80s, seeing how some of them were really socially isolated and lonely. Because I have a public health background and because the CDC is talking about an epidemic of loneliness, and because I'm now working at Ohio State and I'm reading all of the opportunities for funding, I just started applying for everything. And I found that there was a alternative funding stream for research affiliated with Ohio State. It's part of the Alumni Association. It's a group called Women in Philanthropy. Put in a research application, it was funded, and then there was born our study called Aging Well, Aging Together. We did interviews with 50 women, 50 lesbians, people who identify as lesbian now or at any point in their life, age 55 and older, in Central Ohio. It is powerful to know your history and to know the truth about your community history. And so I really hope that AWOT will be another tool to help young lesbians realize that there's no shame in identifying as a lesbian, that there's actually a lot of power in it. Don't ever let someone tell you you can't change the world, because it's absolutely true that you can. What I love about working with students here is that, you can just see the light bulbs going off. There are obviously always going to be students who are just, dialing it in, but the students who aren't, I can see that. I can see that in the classroom. I can feel that in the classroom. And, there are some days where I feel like, oh, God, I could really call off today. But I almost never do, because I think about, even in a classroom, most of my classrooms have 40 people or more in them. There might only be 6 of them where it really matters that we have class. But I think about those 6 people and I think, this might be the only class where they feel seen. This might be the only time of the week that they can be themselves. And that's why I'm going to go to class today. So when you kind of get down to the students who are, it's really meaningful to be in these courses. I know how meaningful that is because I was that student one day and in my past. And that's what I love. I know what it means to get that gift as a student. And so that's why I keep doing it. I'm not going to compromise who I am and what I'm teaching. It is not dangerous. It is feminist. And that threatens a lot of people. But I'm not going to quit being a feminist professor while I'm here. So, I've spent my whole life doing this. I can't turn it off. I'm not going to either.
I'm Tristan Galassa, reporting for The Lantern.